goal. No, he's bounced it through. A little chip from Daryl Vernon finds the big opening, and the first score comes on the board at the 4-minute mark. VFA 1 straight, Tasmania yet to trouble the scorer. Big Reynolds mark.
Especially with Payton's kicking.
Here's go. Chris Reynolds from behind. Oh, good spoiling. It's come loose. Has to hold it in for Story. Round off the ground, straight to Cremascothan. He's put it through. Steen Cremascothan puts Tasmania in front at the 9.5-minute mark. And that's his value, Bruce, isn't it? Those quick little opportunist goals.
Yes, it certainly is. And the big general is not renowned for his long kicking. You can see here that Reynolds contests the ball well. The ball is spilled out, and Cremascothan, that's his true strength. He's a real will-o'-the-wisp and a very opportune player on the forward line.
It's Christensen over the top, number 16. Kick off the ground. Yes, he might get the free, Williamson. Kept the ball in front of him well. Gene Fair comes in, gives the free kick to Gary Williamson, former New Norfolk player. I'll have to get used to the allegiances having changed since I was away. Who's he playing for now? Clarence. He's under Bill Picken. Let's see if Billy's taught him anything about shooting at goal. Not a bad effort. It comes back. That's there. Good goal, Gary Williamson with the heavy ball, and Tasmania go to an 8-point lead. We've played 17 minutes.
That's the value of Gary Williamson, Peter. As you watch here, he's a very persistent player. He just persists, chases the ball, and finally ends up getting a free kick. And of course, the kick through, and that wasn't a bad snapshot from out there.
Worked very hard for that, Bruce.
My word.
Up by Terry Fellows, throws it up. Payton and round to Vernon, tries to kick it off the ground. Didn't work. Into attack they go, and in front. It's a good mark from Robinson. Keith Robinson from Springvale.
He's a very good player, Rod. The conditions are obviously not conducive to high marking, which is one of his attributes, but he works very hard. He's a tremendous leader. And as we've seen, Peter, a very reliable kick for goal.
Yeah, a bit of confidence last week, kicked 6, so hoping he can finish it off today.
19 minutes into the first term. Any moves, never look like missing. Second on the board to the VFA, and that match-winning lead is cut to 2 points.
Oh, high one there. Ball comes back to Templeton, who's come on from interchange. Away goes Nicholson. Nice spearing pass to no one.
Oh.
Who's behind? Perry off the carpet. Oh, he's kicked a miracle left footer.
Arrow's on to reach your heart out.
Well, he didn't bother trying to pick it up. No mistake, and Tassie back in front.
Well, luck's of fortune. Darren Perry, I'm sure, would have liked to have picked this ball up. We see the ball fly over the back of the pack, and Perry's left on his own. But the kick off the ground is true, and Tasmania really, I guess, fairly lucky to be in front at this stage, because I think the VFA kissed away a couple of very easy opportunities a few moments ago.
Handballed around. Caught by Code. Cremascothan. Here he is again. Templeton. Wade's in front. Well, they've had it about 50 metres out from their goal for the last 3 or 4 minutes. Can they make something of this? Wade's spearing passes of beauty. And is that Templeton again? No, Cremascothan.
Been a very busy player, Wade, Peter.
Wright about to come on for the VFA. Who will he replace?
They need to score here, Peter. They've been up forward for a long period of time for the last 5 or 6 minutes and haven't scored. So Tasmania must score from this far end of the forward line.
He's kicked one, Cremascothan, from a snap. Let's see what the left footer does here. 40 metres out from goal. Looks like Allison's come off. No, it's Allen. Allen, who's been replaced. Might have been Webster here. Would put off his teammate, Cremascothan. Just swings away at the last moment, but it's through. Tassie take a 10-point lead at the 11-minute mark. Cremascothan from about 2 kicks for the match has 2 goals. Nothing. Wade's led too early. High one to half forward. Reynolds has it punched away by McAllister, playing a top game. The Brunswick fullback. Here it comes to Williamson. No one's home. Cremascothan can kick his 3rd. Easy as you like.
Well, the Tasmanian selectors will really pull a winner here. I think that the move of Payton to centre half forward has lifted the Tasmanian side. And Cremascothan just running onto the ball now. We see here Williamson, who's been a tremendous player for the Tasmanian side. Flip it over the top. Very clever here by Cremascothan. Slippery conditions and a very much needed goal for the Tasmanian side.
Christensen tried to do the same thing. Round couldn't bend down and pick it up. VFA, the opportunity. Big fist to the ball. Who's at the fall of the ball? Dell again. And that's one of the few errors he made, but he saw it over the boundary line. And the end of the quarter. It's been an intense and exciting struggle out there between Tasmania and the VFA, with Tasmania leading by 13 points.
And in that quarter, the VFA added 1 goal, 9, while Tasmania rattled on 3 goals, 2. There's Roland Crosby, and Mark Cutler's going to have a word with the Tasmanian coach as he heads in at half-time. Sure. No, well, he was, but Roland obviously has got more important things on his plate as he heads back into the rooms to talk to his Chargers, who did very well in that term. They led by 2 points at quarter time and now leading by 13 points. Let's look at the goal kickers in the match. Steen Cremascothan with 2 in that quarter has 3 singles to Perry and Williamson, while for the VFA, goalless in that term, singles to Allison and Robinson. Well, the work to be done for the VFA, but the sun is shining and perhaps the rain has disappeared. Before we go back to the studios, here's Terry Wheeler with Mark Cutler.
Terry, you must be disappointed. You had a lot of the play towards the end of that second term, but couldn't cap it off.
Yeah, a lot of play, 2 goals, 10. I'm not sure what we kicked in that quarter, but there were quite a number of points. What, 8 points, I think? 9. 9 points, so, and there were quite a few posters in that. You know, I think we're really working at the game. We just need to be able to kick that 1 or 2 to really click things for us at the moment.
What areas in particular do you think you're falling down in?
I think that the little players, the Tasmanian little players, are certainly being first of the ball into the packs, and we just want to now probably sit down and have a look at the situation, see if we can make some changes to rectify that situation.
Well, it was really a quarter of two distinct patterns there. They kept control of the ball in the early stages, maybe the first 20 minutes, bottled it up there, and you hardly saw it. But when you did, you didn't have anyone to capitalise. You're going to make any changes?
Yeah, I think we might look at getting Roundy around the centre-half forward for a run now, just to see if we can break the game up that way and get it. Perhaps Jeff Hocking is a mobile ruckman in there, and you know, Roundy's certainly a contributor at centre-half forward, and he may be the one who can open things up for us.
All right, well, good luck for the second half, Terry. Man with a lot on his mind, Terry Wheeler, as has Tassie coach Roland Crosby. We'll wait for the second half to see what either can do to turn this game around in their favour.
Well done, Mark Cutler, and isn't it refreshing to hear a coach willing to say, I'm going to move a guy out to centre-half forward. I wonder if Roland Crosby's got a TV down there in his rooms.
And more importantly, Pete, he looked very calm and collective.
I think it was tremendous. I'm not too sure I could do the same thing.
Phil would like that, collective, you know.
Collective, oh yes, well.
We might go back to the studios.
Did you imagine Phil coming off at half-time being 13 points in the rears?
I don't think so. I wouldn't have liked to be in the rooms to hear his address. But we'll take you back to the studios. So we've got a top half of football to come from North Hobart, where Tasmania go in at the big break, leading by 13 points.
All season, you'll be able to hear their comments to the players. There's a push in the back. Lee, hurriedly. Who's he going to find? Cremascothan. Cremascothan, a left footer. Kicks it high, looking for Payton. Tries to do the bullocking work. Allender held him out. Mark on, nicely out. Opportunity, Maloney, too slow. Yes, throwing the ball, said umpire Gene Fair. The 18-year-old central umpire. Noble, chips, Williamson. Beautiful use of the body and Mark. That was class play from Gary Williamson, the Clarence player, who just held Hislop out, used the body, stood his ground, no suggestion of a free kick given away. And Williamson a chance to draw first blood for the Tasmanians.
And coming in for kick number 12.
And a busy player. It'll be a vital one for the Tasmanians. They're sixth, and Gary Williamson second.
Bruce, I feel even at this early stage of the third quarter, the game's starting to slip away from the VFA, and that Tasmania is looking very, very effective, and certainly the superior side.
Christensen. Scramble there. And the free kick going VFA's way. Pastore. Whatever Coach Wheeler said to him as Allison gets up. A little bit sore, but he's right. Pastore up looking for Round and Bennett. Round, one-hander. Great grab. Put that big fist out and just palmed it beautifully.
This is going to be a great duel between these two.
What odds on Barry? Sorry,
Sam,
Rod.
I was
just going to ask about what odds for Barry kicking this.
Well, I won't go that far.
5 last week.
He'll kick this without anywhere in the world.
Here he goes. And Bruce Green, he'll eat your heart out. He's put it through.
Stuck that in, Bruce.
Well, I know the big fella very well, Sam. He's a great guy, an object lesson to any young player watching today. And
Have a listen to replay, Bruce. Tremendous body strength.
Real strength, because Andy Bennett's no weakling, I can tell you that now. Great strength.
11.5 minutes into the third term.
Goals at a premium in the game. Comes to Code. Thought about the hand pass. Sells the dummy. Lines up the goals. Puts it through. Great over Code. He's at the fall of the ball and he pops it through for Tasmania's 7th.
Really was deft play. I mean, it's very poor defence by VFA. Here we see it on television. He really used his skills, evasive skills well, Bruce, didn't he?
Work by Hocking, who wasn't a success at centre half forward. He's now in defence. Now the opportunity. Bradbury. Hislop have been impressed with him since he's come on. Copped a high tackle. Play-on's the call. Gets it back to Marcon. Up towards centre wing. Here's this an opportunity for the VFA. Should be a free kick to Vernon. Play-on's the call. The umpires have been letting it go all day. Payton tried to barge his way through. Not successful. Comes back. Perry. Desperate stuff out there as the hand pass comes back to Vernon, who's cramped. Up high. Centre half forward. Free kick must go the VFA's way. Maple too high over the shoulder of Keith Robinson, and Robinson, who's kicked 1 goal in the first term, quickly on with play, and that's clever work out to Wright, who again has been an impressive player since coming off the interchange bench.
Very good play, unselfish play from Wright. He retrieved the ball very quickly, saw that Wright was unopposed. This is an important goal, this.
My word it is. And he moves 40 metres out. Beautiful drop punt kick. What's the direction like? Pretty good. And the 4th on the board for the VFA, and they move to within 12 points. Code. What desperation's out there at the moment. Sells trying to force it through. Bennett close to the boundary line. Does he keep it in? He does, but just as far as Wright. Allender, who streams off the back line. And, I would have let that one go.
Yes, I tend to concur with you there, Rod.
Free kick to Bradbury. You're right. Too high, and in the meantime, Maple's gone to sleep, and it's the full forward in Keith Robinson, who had a 10-metre break on him.
Maddie, come out, please.
And I don't know what happened to Michael Maple on that occasion, but Robinson was awake up to it.
If they get the ball up there often enough and quick enough for this guy, he's capable of winning the game for them.
In he comes.
And great goal.
Not in doubt for a moment, and all of a sudden the margin 9 points, and that's his 2nd.
What a ball game we've got now, Bruce.
Well, I thought since half-time, Sam, the VFA's look a much better side, actually. I think they've showed much more endeavour, and whatever Terry Wheeler said at half-time has certainly proved dividends, and it seems to work with the big fellow Round being out of the ruck and up on the forward line. It's just given the VFA forward line much more impetus, and players are feeding off him.
Bit of decoy more than anything, I think.
Sure. Yeah, and Robinson's a very important player. If Pearce is going to be a danger man for us, I think that Robinson will certainly be the focal point for the VFA.
That man won effectively.
Yep.
Dell's tap. Tackle from Christensen. Spilt loose to Lee. Well, left behind by Pastore. Lee does well to get it out there to Wade. Ignores the handball. Goes to half forward. Good defence from Sheldon. Payton. Sheldon sweating on him. Marcon, what a flying tackle. Comes loose to Martin. Couldn't keep it in.
Rod, can I ask you a question, please? I know you're busy. As I know it, the Tasmanian tiger is the only protected species in Tasmania, or there's a general fall in that category as well, Payton? Well, got tackled and held for 5 minutes, and the umpire still refused to pay the free kick.
I have to agree with you there, Sam. It's Cremasco that chips it into Reynolds in front, free kick. No doubt about that one.
Sam's true colours are showing now. Didn't think that one was...
Oh, that's a warranted kick, but I meant to say what occurred a minute earlier is the area that I was...
I agree with it. I'm very, very critical of the... We'll see the replay here now, and but I was very critical of the Tasmanian players, and they're falling down this quarter, but not being at the face of the pack when Big Payton contested the ball.
Yes, he had no one to give it to there.
Yeah, exactly.
He was gone for all money.
It was still holding the ball for sure.
Still, that's history.
Well, this goal was that's the lead. 15
don't want
points.
any closer, please.
Here umpire Gene Fair telling the VFA players that he doesn't want them to get in too close. Reynolds this time, what's he do? Bangs it through for a goal. That's his first.
As players over near the interchange bench, Webster is coming off and tapped to go on. Hislop. And there's tapped the player on. Couldn't quite pick up Maloney. Well done, Peter Maloney. Sells. Pretty short quarter, 28.5 minutes. 1 quarter left. Tasmania 15 points up on the VFA. Looking at the goal kickers, Cremascothan 3, 2 to Williamson for Tasmania, singles to Perry, and in that quarter, Reynolds and Code kicked 1 each. Williamson kicked 1 to take his tally to 2, while for the VFA they kicked 3 goals in that quarter. Robinson has 2, singles to Round, Vernon and Wright. do or die in the last term for the VFA. We'll be back for the bounce of the ball. 15 points is Tasmania's lead.
Quickly does. Looking for Christensen, centre half forward, in front, brilliant mark, and should be 50.
Do they pay 50s down here? We haven't seen one all day.
They do.
So. Yeah, they started the season off by paying quite a few, but since then they've been very lenient, I can assure you.
Looks for Reynolds. Oh, does it brilliantly. Out-manoeuvred for one of the rare occasions today. McAllister at full back. And Chris Reynolds, who had a very quiet first half, did it well.
Well, once again, that move started from the very persistent Gary Williamson, and he's been a fine player for Tasmania today. And
a great
my word, the big Ross Christensen putting his body in front, and now Reynolds shooting for goal.
Let's see whether Royce Hart's work with him during the week has paid dividends as he fires in, and he's put it through, and an important goal to Tasmania. Reynolds second.
Stretch the margin to 21 points, Peter.
It's going to take
It'll be very difficult to retrieve that margin. And it came through the agencies we saw in the replay through good use of the body by the key forwards. Firstly, Christensen at centre half forward, and then at full forward, Reynolds.
He's a very strong man kicker, isn't he, Reynolds? When he gets his hands on the ball,
he looks a mean,
doesn't let too many go.
Hungry. Oh, he's got that Tasmanian awesome look about him, hasn't he, Bruce?
That was a great kick by Williamson then.
He covers well. All loose. Code. Can he run it on further? No. Good work by Round. Held him up. Wade running loose. Now the lead from Reynolds. That's where the direction he's going, and he marks. Well, what a change has come over the game with Chris Reynolds.
Isn't he a vastly different player when he leads and use the strength and the fingers?
Why was McAllister taken off him?
Well, I think the Tasmania side too, that was a tremendous left foot kick out of the mud there by Gary Williamson. It just flowed on from there, and I think the Tasmania side now moving the ball much more quicker, and the ball's not going second hand to Reynolds, and I think it's shown out now. He's starting to move more, he's taking the marks and converting.
So can he put his fourth on the board? None at half time. And he moves, kicks through the ball beautifully, and there's no mistake about that. And as the gloom settles over North Hobart, the lights are shining up brightly for Tasmania.
But Peter, it's one of those situations, Rod, that obviously, when they move McAllister, he's obviously endeavouring to generate a bit more movement and fluency across that half-back line, a bit more drive.
The opportunity is with Allen. Once again, that running McTaggart off the back line. This is better play by the VFA. Link play's going. Maloney, as he drives forward into the goal square, and Vernon takes the mark. But getting back as Vernon goes around to line this up. No, you're going to play on. No, can't do. There's the umpire blowing time on. But Andy Bennett, I think if you looked at the stats, he'd probably have 2 or 3 kicks and about 5 or 6 hit-outs, but he's done a fine job. It's not just the kicks that you get in a football game that mean the difference between winning and losing.
The Tasmanian side's done their homework very well, Rod, and I think Bennett's performance has borne that out.
Vernon, from the impossible angle, has threaded it through. They missed the easy ones, get the hard ones.
Yeah, it's a belated run, unfortunately. Here's the replay here, the running McTaggart, who's run through the fence very well now. Unfortunately, it's a little bit late in the game. Maloney, who's been relatively quiet all day, and Vernon's did very well there to outmanoeuvre 2 Tasmanians.
Coming off the back line, McAllister, never giving up. He doesn't know what the meaning of the word defeat is. But here comes the dashing Darren Lee, Devonport player, off half-back line, looking for Reynolds, his teammate, who does it superbly. And was that a 50-metre?
No, I just wonder why Allender reeled back there. I'd love to see that one. It was on the blind side for us.
Absolute strength here. I think he's lost his footing, the big man. Very, very strong. You can't play from behind this guy.
Down like a bag of spuds.
Such a big, strong guy, Bruce. I'm going to say, when he does get in front, yeah, we're flat out seeing the sun. The sun.
He's not quite as big as you, Kicker, but by he'll do.
Well, what a performance this has been from Chris Reynolds after being goalless in the first half. He's moving in for his 5th. And what's he done? I think he's missed. So 4 goals, 4 behinds for Chris Reynolds. And at the end of the day, when you look at the stats sheet, you're going to say he's done his job.
They improved the... Look at the scoreboard, the VFA here. We've played 26, 27 minutes. There's Bennett, only his 5th kick. What a game he's had. Code's not. It's there. It's Pastore who's kicked the goal. Yeah, I think probably his first for the season.
That's a good goal here, Bruce. We'll see it on replay. Picked the ball up, slammed it on the boot, and Through it went.
I think it's one of the few times the Tasmanian defenders have allowed the VFA forwards to have some sort of poise. They've put them under tremendous pressure all day, and that time Pastore was allowed to kick a fairly, well, under some pressure, but a fairly simple sort of
Well,
a
with
goal.
a couple of relaxed a little bit.
Williamson. Mans his content to find the sanctuary of the boundary line.
Right. Yes, we've got a few technical problems down there. It's called chroma lock, which means absolutely nothing to me, but I hope it means something to you. And I'm just wondering, Phil, if there's any truth in the rumour that Brooke Anderson's trying to pull the plug.
He could well be. I think with a 19-point deficit late in the game, it's all over, boys, unfortunately.
Yeah. We're still having trouble with the pictures. I say we can go back, and I'll leave that to the discretion of our director. If the pictures look good enough to put to air, fellas, you do it, and we'll keep chatting.
Pierce hands it off, out wide to
Have we got sound from Hobart or not?
And misses. So 20 points once again the margin. 28 minutes gone, final term, and it's been not a great game as far as open play, and a lot of the open skills of the game are concerned because they're relying.
It's been a day for bodies in for the ball, Rod, and the Tasmanian boys have done it all day. They've put themselves in first, and full credit to them. There's a silence.
Well, the two skippers embrace, shake hands. It's Ian Payton's boys that have come out on top. Roland Crosby, the coach of the victorious Tasmanian side, 20-point winners over the VFA. There he is. I think we might get a word from him this time. Let's go down to Mark Cutler with Roland.
Can I just hold it for a sec? We won't hold up. I know you want to go to the guys. Then we've got to present them down there. Well, congratulations. You've answered the critics from the last game in a resounding way.
Yeah, it's tremendous, Mark. The boys just worked really hard. There was a great feeling before the game, and I just think it's fantastic the way they worked together. It was just really a, I suppose, a united effort.
It sure was. The fact that you held that lead at every quarter and increased it every quarter shows that they never gave up. They never stopped fighting.
We worked for every quarter. We just sort of divided the game up into 4 little games, and we wanted to win every one of them.
Might be hard to get an overview, but really, where did you think you won it?
Well, I just thought that, you know, Ross Christensen and the general gave us something to kick to at centre half forward, just swapping them there, and also I thought that Chris Dell in defence rebounded well a lot of times, and we just worked very hard around the packs and had numbers to the ball, and it was a good, honest effort.
I suppose just to finish, your smaller guys were much improved on the Queensland effort, and everyone really was up. There wasn't a bad player in the whole team.
Yeah, and we had some good options in the smaller guys because we had young Goose Noble on the bench, and we used him off the bench, and Scotty Wade was tremendous, and you know, Darren Perry, Gary Willow, all the little guys did well.
So what's it going to be, champagne, beer or cordial tonight?
Oh, well, we'll probably champagne and beer, I think.
Well done, Roland. Go and enjoy it.
Well, there they are, the victorious Tasmanian lineup. Well, we might get you, Bruce, as the man with the closer connections to the Tasmanian team, to wrap up on their performance, but I think Roland did give a pretty good overview on it.
Yes, he did, and it was just seeing the players swapping jumpers now. It was great to see the game played in such good spirit, in fairly trying conditions, a very soft ground, although the rain did stop after half-time. I thought the game was played in very difficult conditions. It was a pretty fair standard sort of a game, a typical wet, slogging, wet weather sort of a game, and the Tasmanian side persisted very well indeed. Were criticised greatly after their performance against Queensland a couple of weeks ago, and I thought today they put the old-fashioned bodies in for the ball, got there first, backed up very well, ran to the face of the pack fairly well, and I thought that they deserved their win.
Well, let's hear from the General, Ian Payton, who's led Tasmania on the field to this victory. And there's a presentation of an ANA trophy to Ian Payton. Down to Mark Cutler again.
Got the victorious captain of the Tasmanian team, Ian Payton, to take possession of this magnificent trophy donated by the ANA Society, the Trans-Tasman Cup, won by Tasmania. Congratulations, General.
Thanks very much. Well, on behalf of Tasmania, I'd just like to congratulate the VFA on a hard-fought game. It was played in the true spirit of the game. It's a very hard contest. It was lucky for us. We came off. It's you know, we didn't go so well last year, but the boys were pretty well geared up this year for a hard contest. I'd just like to congratulate them and also our own players. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ian. A great performance from you personally too. You lifted in the ruck and gave great drive. So a real captain's game.
Oh, I think it was pretty much a team effort all round. You know, everyone seemed to play well. We're doing just the hard little things that maybe we didn't do against Queensland, and I think it paid off on the scoreboard.
All right, we'll let you take the great trophy over, and I hope that all the boys enjoyed as much as you did too. Thank you. The Victoria's captain, Ian Payton, and I'm sure that they're all going to enjoy in the rooms after a hard game the victory that they didn't get over Queensland, but they certainly got today.
Thanks, Mark Cutler. Is a very happy group of spectators. Heads out to Argyle Street there. It's been a great day for Tasmania, but Sam, wrap up the VFA performance. They are back in the dressing rooms pretty quickly, as you might have gathered.
Well, it was somewhat disappointing, Peter, but without making an excuse, the side was obviously depleted through injury. We had a number of players that, you know, like the Carls and Sleversons from Williamstown. We go through others, but I'm sure that...
Well, Carl was available, I think. Perhaps he should have been picked.
Perhaps so. Obviously, in hindsight, he most certainly should have been picked because of damaging players that...
Sam, just briefly, before we perhaps have a look at a couple of highlights, for the benefit of our Tasmanian viewers, as well as the Victorians, but they'd be more familiar with it, how hard would it be for the VFA, who week in, week out throughout their season have 16 aside, no wingmen, to adapt to all of a sudden playing a representative game with 18 players?
Oh, look, there's no question it's a harsh transition to make overnight. And I guess that was one of the factors that worked against the VFA. But to the credit of Tasmania, they really exerted enormous pressure on our running players who are more accustomed to having that bit of space to run into and utilising their skills. And some of them, obviously, when they're confined to close quarters, you know, don't look the type of player that we know them back at home. But to Tasmanians' credit, I'd just like to finally say, Rod, that they've done their homework extremely well. I think one area where we looked as though we would have an advantage would be in our big man strength through Barry Round, and when that was negated, I didn't think that we really had an avenue that we could fall back upon, and our running players were also nullified, and the following division of Tasmania was absolutely superb. When you look at Wade's performance and Williamson, Code, Payton and Christensen alternating between centre-half forward and the ruck, they really led us a merry dance. But overall, I guess their sheer persistence and skill and pressure, you know, was just tremendous. And it's good to see that, you know, if we couldn't get away with it, we're both developing and rationalising our respective codes. And it's good to see that Tasmania are back on the road to recovery.
Well, one man who was very quiet in the first half was the Tasmanian full forward Chris Reynolds, who kicked 6 goals against Queensland. But certainly in that second half, he showed some good marking skills. So let's go to a replay of one of Chris Reynolds' strong marks.
Here's a kick from Christensen, and Reynolds with tremendous strength. He's a very strong man indeed, and strong hands. And that typifies, that's a typical Chris Reynolds mark, and he's proved a very fine player today.
Well, Reynolds had no kicks, didn't even get a possession in the second quarter, and then by the end of the match, 7 kicks, 6 marks, and he ended up kicking 4 goals. He was the leading goal kicker on the day. Cremascothan kicked 3, 2 for Williamson, singles to Code and Perry, while for the VFA, 2 to Allison, 2 to Robinson, singles to Round, Wright, and to Pastore. Just check that, Vernon got the 2, not Allison. So that's the story of the day. Final scores: Tasmania 11-12-78, defeated the VFA 7-16-58. A 20-point victory for Tasmania. As we say good afternoon to our Victorian viewers, and we'll hand it back to Charles Slade in the Sports Arena studio.
Lumachese, who he's roved with 2, as I suggested earlier, wasn't really doing enough. Unfortunately, a good player, Lumachese, but just wasn't up to scratch in this particular game. Pastore, back man on the forward line, puts through a goal. Right. Always nice late at the game, late in the game.
Terry Wheeler under any pressure as coach of the VFA squad?
Now, I shouldn't be saying things like that. I don't want the job. No, he's done very well. Yeah. He has done very well. Yeah, they're a bit stiff. 20 points isn't a great deficit in a game like that. It was tight. And you look at the scores, 11 goals to 7, and obviously I think Terry looked back and just wonder whether they had the right setup in this game. The forward line was always going to be a problem. I think you should pick specialist forwards. At centre-half forward in particular, I think Hocking's a good ruckman, but to play him centre-half forward I don't think was the right move.
Okay, back to domestic competition next week. We'll bring up the schedule for next week, and you can tell us about some of the games that are just coming up in the VFA next weekend. There we are.
Yeah, Brunswick on the boil almost after win over Port. Play Springvale at Brunswick, and well, I think Brunswick must be a chance, and they could be chasing the disgruntled Robbie Saggers too, who's walked out of Port Melbourne. Sandringham at home to Port Melbourne. When you go to play Sandy at Sandy, you have to expect the unexpected, as I think some bloke on the tally says. And Port Melbourne have been in a little bit of trouble with Sandy down there. They're not playing well, Port, and Sandy are a good side at home, as I say. Paran, well, they're struggling against Frankston at home. They could be a chance, but they still haven't come to terms with First Division. Preston and Willie, well, that will be a fantastic game out at Preston too. Preston lost at their last start. A lot of good running players. Willie, a power side, well led by Terry Wheeler. Good game. And Box Hill plays Coburg. Well, Box Hill at Box Hill is never easy, and they tell me the ground is not too good. There's plenty of grass and plenty of water,
right.
So we'll have to work hard.
And next Saturday's televised match is Paran-Frankston live from the Port Melbourne Oval.
Oh, that's right, Paran and Frankston. Well, I think the Paran boys will be keen to see themselves on television. They sport some interesting hairstyles down there, and I think they'll all have a copy of the replay and be watching it.
OK, Phil, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. I think what we will do just before we leave is check some